3-0. So we're talking about some Red Wolves volleyball here, Hannah. They have improved to 5-1 on the season. In this game one against Prairie View A&M, Tegan Sarin was just on a tear. She had 26 kills, 47% attack percentage, and she just committed 5 errors through those 2 matches on this week. So how do you feel like her play is really affecting this team?
You know, obviously, I think the setter knows where we want the ball. We want it to go to her. She's really good. She's shown a lot of passion, throughout the season so far. I think she's going to help us progress a lot this season coming up.
Definitely. So let's move on to game 2. Houston Christian. We lost that game. We went down 2 sets early. We made a comeback, but in the 5th set, the Huskies turned it around, went on a 4-0 run. We had the lead early in that set, but they went on a 4-0 run, and we just couldn't get it back. So in that game, Bailey Helzer had a double-double, 13 kills and 11 digs. Kaylin Whitlock led in kills in that game with 16. So even though we lost that one and we dropped that one, what were some positives that you took out of that game? What did you see?
James, out of that game, I think it really shows like our freshmen are shining this year. Throughout the season, I think it's going to help us a lot with energy. You see a lot of freshmen coming off, or people that haven't even, been at A-State for very long, and they're improving a lot, and they're showing that as we watch the games throughout the week. I think that they're going to help us a lot with raising our energy for the upperclassmen. We went into it a little lazily, and I think that's going to help us throughout this next coming week.
I definitely agree with that because, like you just said, we're young, we're energetic, but just showing that heart and that experience really just gives you some hope that what we have for this season. In game 3 versus Penn, we redeemed ourselves. We swept that game. We only had a 27% hitting percentage, like not really good, but we found a way to pull it out, and we found a way to get the ball over the net and score. Bailey Helzer, again, 16 kills, 3 errors, 35% hitting percentage. What do you take out of that one?
I think over the games, like watching them, I think we need to take into perspective here that serving is just as important as almost a free throw in basketball. We need to take that with a big grain of salt, I guess you'd say, with not a grain of salt, sorry. And, using those to make points when we can't get those hit-offs.
All right. So the Red Wolves will play in the Saluki Bash in Carbondale, Illinois, where they'll play Eastern Illinois, Southern Illinois, and Alabama A&M. So, Hannah, how did soccer look this past week over here on the pitch?
I think they had a little bit of a rocky start, but they came back in the end. This past Thursday, the Red Wolves traveled to Lawrence, Kansas to take on the Jayhawks. The Jayhawks were on their A game at Rock Chalk Park and beat the Red Wolves 3-0. But returning home to Jay Vegas, on Sunday, the Red Wolves bounced back by defeating Southeastern Louisiana 1-0. I don't think that we were really trying to look for a win here going against Kansas. They have a lot of good players, upperclassmen, lowerclassmen, they come with a lot of grit. And I think that we went into the game kind of knowing that we were going to lose. Not a lot of energy there from key players that we really needed. Yeah,
I really agree with that. Like, it's the Kansas Jayhawks, but you have to go in with the mindset that, hey, yes, we're Arkansas State, yes, we're a smaller school, but if we execute, play our game, you never know what can happen. But I do agree with that. We kind of went in with the attitude, let's just get this game over with.
Yeah, exactly. I think Kansas was basically just getting our feet wet for Louisiana. We did beat them 1-0, like I said. And I think that we played more as a team in that game. We wanted the win, you could tell, and we had a lot of energy throughout the game.
It also goes back to your point. We got the ball to Aaliyah Williamson, and Emma Raleigh. They are our big players for that team, and we rally around them.
Yes.
So I feel like we need to continue, and especially on the defensive side of the ball as well, protecting the goal. So
yes, we cannot wait to watch them this week, and let's see if we can keep this momentum going with the Cowboys of Oklahoma State rolling into Jay Vegas on Thursday at 3 p.m. Tristan and Juicebox, back to you.
And Cooper, that was very good analysis by Hannah and James. And, the one thing that I took away from that was Hannah talking about the Kansas Jayhawks, and I want to get your opinion on it too.
Okay.
Do you think it's just lack of our team knowing that Kansas is a bigger university, or do you think it's just the recruiting and how much more difference it is up in Lawrence than it is here in Jonesboro?
At the end of the day, we know how good our Red Bull soccer team can be. We've seen it since we got here at A-State, and I felt like that's just a bad game. It's the beginning of the season, and I really do believe coming in against Oklahoma State this Thursday that we have a good chance to win. I think, yes, Kansas, bigger school, they're the Big 12, they get better recruits, bigger recruits, but there's no reason that we shouldn't be in competition with them. It's not like football. I feel like soccer, it's kind of like baseball. Any given day, someone can win. Like you could go out in baseball, win 12-0, then lose 1-0. But I feel like Kansas, they just kind of had the better players that game, and that's what showed that day.
Yeah, Cooper, I mean, it really just boils down to the fact of the matter is that soccer is a completely different animal, a different beast than it is football, basketball, or anything like that. So it really is going to be an eye-opener if the Red Bulls can come in Thursday against Oklahoma State and really be able to keep it close and maybe even sneak out a victory there, because we've seen how well the Red Bulls can perform on the pitch. We've seen how many times they can go far on the Sun Belt Conference tournament. But it's going to really be an eye-opener to see is if this team, Coach Dooley's team, can carry the length of the way against a top premier opponent like in Oklahoma State.
Yes, and speaking of Oklahoma State, I am absolutely ecstatic to be able to go to that game this Thursday. 3 o'clock, we need you all there. I know this past weekend was rough, but you know what? There's other sports here at A-State. We need you there cheering on our A-State soccer team because they're brewing something special this year. They had a bad, I'd say last year wasn't their best year, but this year they got the new players coming in. They have the veteran leadership. It's going to be something special. And you know what? Before we go to break, I just want to say shout out to our volleyball team. They're 5-1 right now. They're playing out of their minds. And after last year, I'm just so proud of them.
Yeah, Cooper, I mean, it's one of their better starts under Coach Brian Gurrick, his second season at the helm of the Red Bulls. And I do believe it was their best start of the season since the year 2015. And I'm going to be very excited to see what this team can do when conference play starts to really get into the nick of things and see if they can beat a lot of the Sun Belt teams that they struggled against last year. I mean, we saw last season in the actual conference tournament when they were able to catch flame and do very well. But Cooper, we're going to have to take a short break, guys. When we come back, you're going to hear more about the Red Bulls. You're watching Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV.
ASU-TV, covering all your favorite sports. From Red Wolf Roundtable to West Side football and more, ASU-TV has you covered. Tune in now to ASU-TV for news and coverage on these sports and more.
Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV. And Cooper, you know, we had an exciting trip to Oklahoma. It was a great stadium, beautiful atmosphere, great hospitality. But real quick, before we talk about what went wrong in Norman, let's go ahead and visit back to our post-game show to show all the fans what we thought after the game. All right, guys, welcome to the post-game show after the Arkansas State Red Bulls took on the Oklahoma Sooners. As you can tell by the sound of my voice, it wasn't pretty. The Arkansas State Red Bulls were defeated 73-0 here in Norman, Oklahoma. And Cooper, let's go ahead and just dive right into it. What went wrong?
What went wrong, to be frank and short and simple with it, everything went wrong. I mean, we got down early, 7-0, went quick 3 and out. Punted the ball away. They take it to the house. It's 14-0. Next thing you know, it's 21-0. Oklahoma scored on 10 straight drives. They punted the ball one time today, scored on 10 straight drives, and that's why the score is 73-0. Just an absolutely poor performance from the Red Wolves today. I didn't expect a win. You know, last year when we went to Ohio State, it was kind of one of those at the end of the game. Yeah, we lost, but we had a sense of pride. We had a sense of joy, really, like something to look forward to. And just at the end of this game, it feels embarrassing, defeated, and just overall, it just sucks. This game just sucks.
Yeah, Cooper, I mean, you kind of hit the hammer on the head. The game was just pitiful for the Red Wolves. I mean, they came and they tried to do their best. You know, Coach Jones said in his post-game press conference that it was simply his fault. And, you know, we're not going to come out here and we're not going to simply criticize the man because, I mean, it is week one. They were facing a top 25 opponent. But the fact of the matter is next week when the Arkansas State Red Wolves take on Memphis inside of Centennial Bank Stadium, they have to be ready. They have to look prepared. And if they're not going to be prepared, then we're going to see a lot of last year's struggles come back into fruition.
And to speak of struggles today, our Dominic Zavada, the guy that we thought was going to be our guy, missed 2 field goals. Now you can say, Butch Jones, he talked in his presser, it's 3 people. It's the snap, it's the hold, it's the kick. But to me, all 2 of those things look fine, but everything that could go wrong today went wrong. We had an early red zone appearance when it was 21-0. We could have got some points there, but we went and ran on 3rd and long. It felt like we gave up before the game even got started.
Yeah, Cooper, and you know we've been mentioning the presser a lot in this post-game sort of interview, stand-up. So let's go ahead and hear what Coach Jones had to say so our words kind of match up his.
Elevating this football team from last year. So he's done a really good job there. There was a marked difference with this football team than what we saw on video. They're tough, they're physical. I thought they out-athleted us. The speed differential is probably the most glaring I've probably seen in my career. So he's done a good job that way. But when you play a team like Oklahoma, and they're a top 25 football team for a reason, and you watch the success that they'll have this year, this is a talented football team. They challenge you in so many ways. You have to be disciplined in the details. And you have to not lose the game before you can ever win the game. And when you give up big explosive plays and special teams, when you can't get off the field on 3rd down, when you can't possess the ball, when you have untimely penalties and drop footballs, and you have lack of execution and in details, those are the things where you get exposed. If you take a play off, when you play against really good football players, you get exposed. And we got exposed today. And I am responsible for this. I know the caliber of football team that we played is very, very good, but we still talk about playing to a standard, and we did not play to a high level, to a standard of performance that we talk about. And so all we can do is learn from it. And I think it's great for a lot of our younger players of how they came out. We knew it. We knew we were going to get a deep ball within the first 4 or 5 plays of the game. We knew all that. It's the matter of executing it. But it's the meticulous attention to details, the discipline that really bothers me the most. So we'll go back. We'll really dive into who competed, who didn't compete, and move forward. But you can't let one game define who you are. We're all a byproduct of experiences. My first year as a head football coach, that was 2007. We went to Clemson, and we had a very good football team, and we lost 70-14. And it was like this. It was embarrassing. And we had a group of freshmen, Antonio Brown, J.J. Watt. We had some older players, and Nick Ballore, Dan Lefevre, some individuals that way that rallied that team. And we won a championship, and we went to a bowl game. And I think, as unfortunate and embarrassing as this is, how can we learn from this? How can we move forward? That's the only way I know, is to be able to move forward with it. But I'm responsible for it. But I have to give them a lot of credit too, because they're a damn good football team.
Yeah, Coach Jones, I mean, he said it best himself, but today he was talking about lack of discipline, lack of urgency, just lack of fight from the team. It just felt like unnecessary penalties in the red zone. I think we had 3 penalties on the PAT after a touchdown drive. You just can't have that happen. When you're already down, to just get a penalty on the PAT, there's no point. Our players, they were trash talking. I mean, you lost 73-0. I don't know why you're talking. It was pitiful. Like a dad would say to you, or a parent would say to you, I'm not mad at you, I'm disappointed.
Yeah, Cooper, and I'm sure there's going to be more thoughts once the dust settles that we'll have Tuesday live on Red Wolf Roundtable. But, going back to this next game against Memphis real quick before we wrap it up, if the lack of urgency isn't fixed, if the discipline isn't handled, and quite frankly, if the penalties don't stop here in Norman, then quite frankly, guys, we're going to be in for a long season. But for that, I just want to once again thank everybody at the School of Media and Journalism, Mr. Dustin Sullivan, Dr. Brad Rollins, Dr. Hogue, everybody that made this trip possible for us. And guys, like I mentioned previously, we will have more takes and breakdowns live this Tuesday on Red Wolf Roundtable, only on ASU-TV. Well,
Let me talk to you, Tristan. You can't go out and lose the game before you go out and win it.
well, Coach, there's only one thing I have left to say to you after that one. You're a dummy. Yeah.
Man, I know what he was trying to say. He was trying to say you can't go out and lose the game before the game even starts. Like, yes, and I understood what he meant in that moment. But when I listened to it again, I was like, oh no, this is going to be a meme. Woke up next morning, instead of the crying Jordan, we got the crying Butch. And
Just look at the post-game stats after the game.
Gosh.
Before we get too much into it about what went wrong in Norman. You're seeing it on screen now, and this is what we call a glorified, good old-fashioned slobber knocker. 14 penalties for 111 yards, 50 total plays, 208 total yards, 160 through the pass through the air, 48 on the ground, 2 for 12 on third downs, 10 first downs. Well, we got our good old booties whooped.
Yeah, it was being there live to see it happen in person. It was embarrassing.
Well, Cooper, let me ask you this. What really went wrong in Norman?
Everything went wrong. I mean, what else can I say? Everything that could go wrong went wrong. Punt returns were given up. Like you said, 14 penalties, and 4 of those was on a PAT. We weren't scoring, obviously. I mean, we missed 2 field goals. We had our chance, but, what went wrong? Everything did, and that's all we can say.
Well, Cooper, I'm glad that we had our dignity held high. We didn't tuck our tails between our legs, but we walked out of Norman, and we held our heads high, and we're looking forward to Memphis. But, Cooper, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the press conference.
Yes.
And, guys, you're watching Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV. Stick around.
At Arkansas State, we want you to go. Go where learning soars, takes flight, and rockets ahead. Go for experiences, internships, and scholarships. We want you to go. Become A-State Maine. Are you ready to go? Go.astate.edu for details.
They play a lot of people, and it doesn't matter
At
who's in.
Arkansas
There's
State,
not a
we want
drop-off
you to go.
in the way they play defense. So it's going to be a great challenge for us. Offensively, it all starts with the quarterback, 3-year starter, Hennigan. They have 4 out of 5 returning starters in the offensive line. The 5th starter coming in via the transfer portal in LSU. So, again, big physical, imposing offensive line, typical, very good skill on the perimeter. And we have to do a much better team, as we all know, defensively on the perimeter, of being able to tackle and win our one-on-one matchups. And then I think the thing that probably sticks out, not just in the offensive and defensive personnel of Memphis, but it's their special teams. Very impressive in special teams, but I always look at the depth of a program by how many starters play on your 4 core units. And very few starters play in their 4 core units. and that's a byproduct of being there and recruiting and developing depth and personnel. So that's something we're working towards. So again, it's going to be a great challenge Saturday. But if you're a competitor, you love these type of games, should have a great environment. You know, we talk about commit to 6. It's the first of 6 home games, 3 home games in September. So we're looking forward to getting back at home and competing in front of our family and our friends and our great fan base. So I'll answer any questions y'all may have.
Well, Cooper, after hearing the press conference, what do you think?
You know, Butch Jones, he made some great points, but I'm just surprised he came in that calm. He was calm. He looked collected. All I know is I'm a sore loser, and if I got beat 73-0, I would have gone in that press conference mad, angry, but you know what? Kept his cool. It's a new day, and he's going to get his team ready to go for Memphis, because that's all you can do.
Right.
That's all you can do. After a beatdown like that, yes, it was Oklahoma. We didn't think we were going to win, besides the fact. But the biggest thing that he's going to have to do, that we're going to have to wait and see, is can he truly get his team ready for next week? I mean,
right.
You're not working with pro athletes who are getting paid millions and millions of dollars. You're working with college kids who are 18 to 22 years old, and you're going to have to help them get calm, get collected, get the media and what they're saying out of their head, and help them get ready for this big game up against Memphis.
Yeah, Cooper, and speaking of the Memphis game, it poses a question that I want to ask to you, because I've seen it kind of swirling around in the social media, and you know what they say, don't swirl around in social media for too long. But I want to ask, if Memphis comes out in Centennial Bank Stadium this Saturday and beats Arkansas State by more than 2 touchdowns, will that be enough for Jeff Purinton to say, hey, sorry, Coach Jones, it's not working out. You're 5 and like 35 in your past 3 seasons here. Best in luck in your future endeavors. Is that going to be enough? Is that going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back?
You know, I really thought about this. It's been kind of going through my head, like, is he going to get fired? But I just can't see it happening this early into the season. No matter what people say, this and that, I can't see it happening this early in the season. Now, if we're still, say we're 1 and about 5 coming in, get ready for the hot seat. But I feel like we're too early in the season to tell, because they were in the car ride in Norman, they were talking about how one year we went 0-4 with losses to UCA. We started the year 0-4 in non-conference, ran the table out and won the Sun Belt, finished 8-4 that season. I mean, anything can happen, but if he's winless going into, I say, ULM, that means he lost to UMass and Stony Brook, which should be 2 wins. If it gets to that, he might be gone. But then comes the question, do we even have the money to be able to buy out his contract to fire him?
Well, and you pose a good question. Does Arkansas State have the money to fire him? And, you know, I'm no mathematician. Okay. But the way it's looking, and don't quote me on it, because I don't want to say the wrong thing and I don't want to get in trouble by certain other people. But from what I've heard and from what I understand, the answer to that question is no.
All right.
Again, it could be totally different. I could know nothing of what I'm talking about. Everybody has told me something could be lying to me, et cetera, et cetera. The fact of the matter is this: when you look at the Memphis game, and when you look at the pregame stats, you look at the over and unders, it's really going to become a testament of time. Is this going to be another year that we come out in a gunslinging matchup like we did 2 years ago here in Centennial Bank Stadium when they lost 55-50? Or is it going to come down to a third down possession where you get a false start, you move back, you fumble it like you saw last year when Memphis won 44-32? But the grand scheme of things is this: is when you talk about the rivalry, and we're going to get into this a little bit later too, but I want to mention this now before I forget. When you mention the rivalry, I don't care if you're talking about Auburn, Alabama. I don't care if you're talking about LSU, Alabama. I don't care if you're talking about Tennessee, Alabama, Army, Navy, Florida, Georgia, whatever rivalry you want to talk about. The most pertinent thing that you must understand is that rivalries in college football, and Cooper can attest to this, rivalries in college football, there's just something about them that makes college football football in general that much sweeter. You could talk about how bad Memphis is. You could talk about how Seth Hennigan, Memphis' quarterback, is overrated. Or you could talk about how Butch Jones is the worst coach on the face of this earth. But the fact of the matter is this Saturday, and like I said, we'll talk about this later, but I want to say this now. This Saturday in Centennial Bank Stadium at 6 p.m., every A-State student, every A-State faculty member, every A-State fan, every A-State employee, I don't care if you're faculty, I don't care if you pick up trash in the union, I don't care what you do. You must be in Centennial Bank Stadium, because the reason why we lost that game last year wasn't because of our lack of conversions, wasn't because of our lack of time of possession or our whatever. The reason why we lost that game is because Memphis packed that house up to the brim. And on 3rd and 15, when it mattered most, they were so loud. And we have the highlights to prove it. We ain't going to run them today, but we have the highlights to prove it. When it mattered most, and I'm looking you dead in the eye, whoever's watching this, when it mattered most, the Memphis fan base got rowdy and got loud. So I said it last year that it got louder than Ohio State. And it wasn't because of the number of people there. It was how passionate they were. If Arkansas State had a passionate fan base like Memphis does, or I'll even do you one better, if Arkansas State had a passionate fan base like the Arkansas Razorbacks do, maybe, just maybe, some of these players would actually start caring a little bit more and would start playing just a little bit better, so that these 3-9 seasons or these 2-10 seasons become a 4-8, maybe a 5-7, or even a glorified 6-6. But what I'm trying to get my point across with this is you must be in Centennial Bank Stadium. Commit to 6 is not a marketing scheme to sell tickets. No, it's not a scheme to sell season tickets. It is the point of emphasis that for 6 games, 6 Saturdays in Jonesboro, 6 Saturdays this year, you have to commit to Arkansas State Red Bulls football team, just like they want to commit to you, the fans and the students.
And you're seeing it happen starting this past Monday. Now, I thought it was a little cheesy. They had a little tailgate for the practice to show the fans and players like, hey, we still have your back. No matter what happened this past Saturday, we still have your back. And I personally, I really just want to say, why not you get all those fans that came out this past Monday, why aren't they out there Saturdays? Why, when we come here Saturdays, it looks like it's an away team home game? Because honestly, it sounds like half of the time the away team fans get a lot more louder than our own home team, Red Wolves. Get people there Saturday. It's the first home game. Yes, we weren't supposed to win against Oklahoma. Just remember that. We weren't supposed to win. We didn't. We didn't win. Who cares? We have a chance to go out there and turn our season around with one game. If you go back to last Red Wolf Roundtable, rewatch it. When me and Tristan started talking about what game is the most important game on this season, we both said Memphis. We said it doesn't matter what happens in Norman. This next Saturday coming up is what's going to prove this season. Are we going to win 6, or is it going to be another 2 wins and we're complaining? But it only starts if y'all can get in the stadium. That's y'all's challenge. Fill up that stadium. Because I do not want to be on the field Saturday and when I'm asked to get maybe crowd shot, just see a sea of blue. I want that stadium filled up with red, and all the blue there is at the very, very top of the stadium where you can't see them.
Yeah, Cooper, I mean, we're setting the challenge down. You guys got to fulfill it. But Cooper, when we come back, we're going to have a special guest here, baby, and I'm excited for you guys to meet him. But guys, stick around. You're watching Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV.
ASU-TV, shows like Red Wolf Roundtable, ASU-TV News, Westside Football, and more. Gain real-life experience while doing what you love. Get involved with ASU-TV today.
Red Wolf Roundtable, and you may be wondering who this handsome gentleman to my right is. And I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, guys, my name is Jake Brewer, and I'm a student employee with the University of Memphis. And luckily, I was honored enough to be invited to Red Wolf Roundtable today to talk a little bit about Memphis and Arkansas State this Saturday.
You know, Jake, it's an honor to have you here.
Thanks, man.
Honored to have you here. Now, Jake, I'll let you go ahead and tell the fans a little bit more about why you're specifically here and how well you know one of the members on this table right now.
Well, as some of you guys know, in past episodes of Red Wolf Roundtable, Tristan may have talked about, his buddy in Memphis. Well, I'm that guy. I'm the buddy from Memphis. And as you guys know, Arkansas State's taking on Memphis this Saturday, 6 o'clock. And today we're just going to talk a little bit about the game itself and preview this important matchup.
Yeah, Jake, so I want to pick your brain a little bit more about the Memphis game because you and your family, you've been Memphis fans, ever since I met you when we were 10 years old. And it seems to be is that whenever Memphis is on the schedule, that's always the important game. When I said that I was coming here, it was like, hey, there's this rivalry and something like that. But I want to ask this: how important is this game from the Memphis fan standpoint?
As you guys have been talking about how important this game is for Arkansas State. Is Butch Jones on the hot seat after this one? But what you guys don't know is this game is just important for Memphis. This is a good test to see how good or bad the Memphis Tigers are going to be.
Yeah, we talk about when it comes to the state of Arkansas, state of Tennessee, we're two colleges that get overshadowed by bigger colleges. And so for us to be able to come together, have this rivalry game, it used to be the Paint Bucket Bowl rivalry, but to be able to play this game is really just a way to get two fan bases, like each other or not, bring them together and have a good game. And like you were saying, it's a test for both teams to see how their season's going to be, because it just feels like no matter how good one team is, how bad one team the other is, it's always a shootout no matter what.
Yeah, Cooper, and let's go ahead and talk a little bit of numbers. We mentioned some of the pregame stats earlier, but looking at some of those pregame stats real quick and seeing how the over/under is going to line up for this game. And, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the sort of difference was set at 21.5.
Yes. It was tweeted out, I think Sunday when we were riding home, it said, Memphis opens up as a 21-point favorite. Jake, what do you think about that? Being a 21-point favorite on the road.
Being a Memphis fan as myself, historically speaking, the Memphis Tigers do not win big on the road. Seeing that 21-point favor, I don't buy it yet. But the fact of the matter is, the numbers don't lie, and hopefully we can come out with a victory. Personally, I don't see a 21-point victory, but we'll see how it goes from here.
Yeah, and I understand there's actually going to be a great quarterback matchup between J.T. Shrout and Seth Hennigan. Seth Hennigan, he was one of those guys last year that he really was the dynamic player in the game. I mean, you're seeing some of his stats from this season so far, and of course, you're seeing the 334 and the 27, the 2-2, and you're wondering, man, that's just 1 week against Bethune-Cookman. That's not really that impressive. But Jake, I almost called you Coop. Sorry, I'm like Shannon Sharp over here calling Stephen A. Smith Skip. But you understand who this guy is. You know him better than we do. So why exactly is Seth Hennigan a dynamic quarterback at the Division I level?
Well, the only thing I say is, his football mind is more mature than what his age shows. He started as the starting quarterback from day one, from the very first game, which he was a freshman here with the University of Memphis. But I'll say one thing. On the defensive end, Arkansas State has to take advantage of Memphis on the defensive end. Seth Hennigan, he threw 2 picks. He had 2 turnovers last week against Bethune-Cookman, and that's just one thing that we're going to have to fix, offensively on the offensive side of the football.
And like you're saying, his first really true test came against the Arkansas State Red Wolves his freshman year. And how has he progressed coming in as a true freshman to now?
That's a tough question. You see, Seth Hennigan, freshman year, wonderful. Sophomore year, he kind of plateaued a little bit. He didn't really have any true, improvements from the quarterback position. But we'll just have to see how this Saturday he will be able to improve upon himself to show that he is the premier quarterback here at the University of Memphis.
So, Jake, why Memphis? Why these years that I've known you, why have you and your family chosen the University of Memphis to be loyal for all these years?
Well, in all honesty, Tristan, I had no choice in the matter. I was born into a Memphis Tiger fan family. My father, Mike Brewer, I'm sure he's watching this right now.
Shout out Pop.
Shout out Pop, exactly. You know, he's been a Memphis fan for years and years and years since before I was born, and I was honestly just thrown into this out of force. You know, I never had the choice. I've grown up going to Memphis Tiger football, basketball games. I'm just a big Memphis Tiger fan. That's just kind of how that started, and it's never going to stop.
Now, Jake, what's the score prediction coming in Saturday? You said it wasn't going to be a 21-point Memphis win like the odds are saying. What's your score prediction?
You know, Cooper, honestly, as a Memphis fan, I'm afraid. You know, this seems like a perfect trap game for the Memphis Tigers. But score prediction, I'm going to say Memphis is going to squeak away 38-30.
Yeah, and you know, Jake, real quick, before we give our sort of predictions, I want to go back to our news desk correspondent, James Lowry, real quick. James, what do you think the score is going to be on this tremendous game?
Hey, guys. For me, I'm actually thinking it's going to be a very good game and a very close one. I got the Red Wolves going 42-35.
Wow, that's another high-scoring fiasco there.
That's a tough one there.
It's a shootout. I like it.
And you know, we were going back on that one, and real quick, Coop, what's your score prediction before I get too carried away?
I hate to do this, but I got to be honest with myself. I got to go with my gut. It's going to be a barn burner, but it's going to be back and forth. It's going to be 59-40 Memphis.
Ooh. Wow.
And you know, going back to James real quick, because James, you know, you're my favorite. You're just that guy. You have such a personality that everybody just loves. Why do you think this game, out of all games, is going to be the game to watch if you're an Arkansas State Red Bull fan?
Man, this is going to be the game to watch because, as you guys have already stated, it's going to define our season. You know, you could just throw Norman out the window. That game was just, you know, a game where we need to find ourselves. But this game defines who we are this season. Going back to the quarterback situation, that's where I feel like this game is going to come down to. Who's going to gunsling the best? Is it going to be J.T. Stroud or Seth Hennigan? Who's going to lead that offense and who's going to get that team to the end zone every single time? Also, how's our defense going to stand up and show the aggressiveness, that power, that will that we need to show to let Memphis know that we are here and we are ready to win this game?
Yeah, James, I mean, you make a lot of good points. And, you know, the fact of the matter is this, is that, and I don't mean any disrespect on the Arkansas State fan base side, but the thing is what we're going through right now, and I like to compare this to what Memphis went through back in the early 2010s, when Memphis was kind of the butt of the joke, when they weren't really that great of a team until, you know, Mike Norvell was really named the head coach and kind of brought that program back up to where it should have been. But I kind of say that Arkansas State's going through that, and the mind of this is that, yeah, we have great players, but we just can't find a way to win. So let me just pick your brain a little bit more here, okay? So when you take Memphis and you take Arkansas State, of course, you know, like Coop said, it's in the middle of two big SEC schools, Arkansas, University, Tennessee, where everybody thinks there's a rivalry between those schools, with either Arkansas versus Arkansas State and Memphis versus Tennessee, but in reality, there's just not one. So I want to ask you this. Is this one of those games that are going to be a sleeper early on that people aren't going to watch but should?
Absolutely, 100%. You know, as Cooper said earlier, it's going to be a barn burner. It's going to be a shootout. This is going to be a very high-scoring football game. And I'll just say one thing: that this is not a Power 5 football game, but this is one game that's going to be, I'd say, one of the games of the week when it comes to the scoring, the ups and the downs. The fact of the matter is, this is going to be a very entertaining football game that you guys should either show up to or tune in.
Yes, and one thing that I'm just so jealous about the Memphis Tigers is just how passionate the fan base is up in Memphis. If you meet someone from Memphis, they're proud to be from Memphis. They're saying, I'm from Memphis, and they're at the game. And we saw it last year when we went to there. It was just a great game. Seeing two dudes from Memphis right here. Tristan.
Wow. Hold on. He said I was from Memphis. I'm done. Okay, I retire. Good night, everybody.
But, you know, how does that passion just translate over to a college that stadium isn't on campus? How do you get people driving to the Liberty Bowl?
You know, you guys say, well, Memphis fans are passionate. You guys say that, and you're right. But honestly, we struggle just a little to get fans to games. But we do a lot of work. We put in a lot of effort to really draw students into the games. And a lot of our fan base is a lot of the older people, where a lot of the older people always come out and rain game, hurricane game. We've had a hurricane game before, night game, snow. It doesn't matter. Our fans are going to show up, and that's why I feel like we're going to bring a good crowd to Jonesboro this Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, and this is kind of going to get into our little debacle that I was hoping we were going to have, is who is truly better, the Red Bulls or the Tigers? And no bias here. Who is truly better?
Are you asking me or are you asking Coop?
I'm asking you, and I'm asking the beautiful bald-headed man over there, James Lowry. Who is truly better?
We are.
Oh, okay, James.
James started out strong.
Yeah, we went 3-9. We went 2-10. It does not matter. It comes down to heart. This season, we are going to turn this thing around. We lost 0-73. Big whoop. Big whoop. Okay? Forget it. Big whoop.
Whoop that trick, baby.
We're going to be saying that to them come Saturday.
Okay.
I just believe the Red Wolves are going to turn this thing around because it's just a mindset. It's a mindset thing. You have to execute and you have to just believe in yourself. I think that's what it comes down to. And with Coach Jones really just staying composed and really just being poised, I think his players just need to take on that and really just go with it and have fun.
Yeah, James, and unfortunately, he done stole all the airtime from you, Jay. Once again, I want to thank you for coming all the way from Memphis to be on the show. Cooper, it's been great. Another episode of Red Wolf Roundtable. And guys, hopefully when we come back next week, we'll be talking about how Arkansas State whooped that trick. Have a great time, guys. We will see you next time.